In ancient Israel, during a time of unprecedented prosperity and peace, King Solomon reigned supreme, renowned for his unmatched wisdom and immense wealth. However, behind the golden facade of his kingdom lay a series of decisions that would ignite controversy and lead to dire consequences. Solomon, in his quest for political alliances and cultural influence, made a series of marriages that defied the expectations of his own people and stirred the ire of his God. Among those marriages were unions with women identified as Nephilim, a term steeped in mystery and historical significance. The narrative of Solomon's marriages begins with his early years as a young king who inherited the throne from his father, David. Solomon was gifted with extraordinary wisdom by God, which he famously demonstrated when he proposed a solution to a dispute between two women claiming to be the mother of the same baby. Yet, despite his divine favor, Solomon's choices in matrimony would ultimately reflect a complex interplay between wisdom and folly. As Solomon's reign progressed, he sought to solidify his power and influence through strategic alliances. Marrying the daughters of foreign kings became a common practice among monarchs, allowing them to establish peace treaties and strengthen their political positions. Solomon, however, took this practice to an extreme, marrying not just a few, but reportedly 700 women, many of whom hailed from nations that worshipped foreign gods. This decision not only raised eyebrows, but also posed significant theological questions regarding his faith and loyalty to Yahweh. The Nephilim, mentioned in ancient texts, were described as giants or fallen ones, the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Their existence is rooted in the enigmatic passage found in Genesis 6, 1-4, a brief yet powerful text that has captured the imagination of theologians and historians alike. This biblical reference raises salient questions about the nature of these beings and their significance in the context of Solomon's marriages. Were Solomon's unions with Nephilim women merely political maneuvers? Or did they carry deeper spiritual implications? As we delve deeper into Solomon's decisions, we must consider the cultural ramifications of marrying women associated with the Nephilim. The Nephilim were not only viewed as beings of extraordinary stature, but also as entities connected to spiritual corruption and idol worship. By aligning himself with these foreign women, Solomon risked compromising his own beliefs and leading his kingdom into a spiritual abyss. This tension between his divine blessings and the potential downfall resulting from his actions creates an emotional backdrop that questions the very essence of wisdom and obedience. Solomon's marriages generated an array of consequences that would ultimately unravel the fabric of his reign. While he may have initially perceived these alliances as a means of strengthening his kingdom, they would pave the way for idolatry and spiritual decline among the Israelites. His foreign wives, many of whom worshipped gods like Ashtoreth and Moloch, would ultimately influence Solomon, leading him to build temples and altars to these deities. This act of disobedience incited God's anger, resulting in a prophetic warning about the division of his kingdom after Solomon's death. If you are intrigued by the complexities of Solomon's reign and the implications of his marriages, make sure to subscribe to catch more in-depth investigations like this. The intertwining narratives of power, faith, and consequence paint a vivid picture of a king whose wisdom did not shield him from the pitfalls of his own choices. As we transition into the next phase of our exploration, it becomes imperative to scrutinize the historical context surrounding the Nephilim. Who were these beings, and what role did they play in the ancient world? The biblical account presents them as formidable figures, and the mention of their existence alongside Solomon's marriages invites further investigation. The contrast between Solomon's divine wisdom and the potential repercussions of marrying women associated with such legendary beings raises poignant questions about the nature of influence and the pitfalls of straying from one's faith. The ancient texts depict a world where the divine and the mortal intertwined, often leading to catastrophic outcomes. Solomon's decision to marry Nephilim women epitomizes this tension. How could a man known for his wisdom fall prey to such temptations? The path he chose serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that even the most intelligent can falter when faced with the allure of power and influence. As we delve into the implications of these unions, it is essential to consider how they were perceived by Solomon's contemporaries. The cultural landscape of ancient Israel was steeped in traditions and beliefs that emphasized loyalty to Yahweh. Yet, Solomon's actions, particularly his marriages to foreign women, seemed to betray that loyalty. The emotional conflict arising from these decisions not only shaped Solomon's legacy, but also left an indelible mark on the history of the Israelites. In examining the consequences of these unions, we must also reflect on the legacy of Solomon's reign. His wisdom was both a blessing and a curse. While he acquired great wealth and built magnificent structures, including the Grand Temple in Jerusalem, his marriages ultimately led to spiritual decay and division. The irony lies in the fact that the very wisdom that elevated him also set the stage for his downfall. As we continue this journey through the intricacies of Solomon's life, We will explore the historical context of the Nephilim and the broader implications of his marriages. What lessons can we draw from his experiences? How do the narratives of ancient kings resonate with our contemporary understanding of power and influence? Join us as we unravel the threads of this compelling story, where wisdom meets folly, and the decisions of one king reverberate through the ages. In our exploration of King Solomon's marriages, we find ourselves drawn into the historical context of the Nephilim, a term that evokes both intrigue and caution. The Nephilim are mentioned in the biblical account in Genesis 6, 1-4, where they are described as mighty men and giants, the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. This brief mention opens up a Pandora's box of interpretations and implications, particularly when we consider Solomon's choice to marry women associated with such enigmatic beings. Understanding the Nephilim requires delving into ancient texts and cultural narratives that surround them. These figures were often viewed as embodiments of both physical might and moral ambiguity. They were described as giants and warriors, suggesting a connection to power and domination. But their lineage also raises questions about purity, faithfulness, and the boundaries of Israelite identity. Solomon's marriages to these women, who were often linked to foreign gods and practices, become a focal point of tension within the narrative of his reign. The implications of Solomon's unions are profound. While he may have thought he was strengthening his political alliances, he was simultaneously risking the spiritual integrity of Israel. The marriages were not merely personal choices, they were laden with the potential for cultural and religious syncretism. Solomon's decision to marry foreign women, particularly those associated with the Nephilim, serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of compromising one's beliefs for the sake of political gain. As we dissect Solomon's actions, we must question the nature of these unions. Were they purely political maneuvers, or did they carry deeper spiritual implications? The biblical narrative indicates that Solomon was led astray by his wives, who turned his heart toward other gods. This shift represents a profound betrayal, not only of his faith, but also of the divine covenant established with Israel. Solomon's wisdom, which was renowned throughout the ancient world, did not seem to protect him from the allure of these foreign influences. If you find yourself intrigued by the complexities surrounding Solomon's reign and the implications of his marriages, don't forget to subscribe for more insightful investigations like this. The narrative weaves a tapestry of power, faith, and consequence that challenges our understanding of wisdom and loyalty. As we delve deeper into the historical context of the Nephilim, we must also consider how they were perceived by Solomon's contemporaries. The cultural landscape of ancient Israel was rich with traditions emphasizing loyalty to Yahweh, the God of Israel. However, Solomon's decision to marry women associated with the Nephilim seemed to undermine that loyalty. The emotional conflict arising from these decisions not only shaped Solomon's legacy, but also left a lasting mark on the history of the Israelites. The biblical texts do not shy away from the consequences of Solomon's marriages. They paint a picture of a king whose heart was led astray, culminating in God's displeasure and a prophetic warning of the division of his kingdom. Solomon's marriages, instead of being celebrated as a means of political alliance, are depicted as a significant spiritual failure. This outcome raises questions about the true nature of wisdom. How could someone endowed with such insight allow himself to be ensnared by the very influences he sought to control? The story of Solomon's relationships with Nephilim women serves as a metaphor for the broader challenges faced by leaders throughout history. The intersection of power, faith, and morality presents a complex landscape where decisions can lead to profound consequences. Solomon may have believed he was acting wisely, yet the unraveling of his kingdom reveals the folly of those choices. This narrative resonates with contemporary discussions about leadership, ethics, and the importance of remaining true to one's principles. As we transition into the next part of our exploration, the historical context surrounding the Nephilim becomes increasingly significant. Who were these beings, and what role did they play in the ancient world? The biblical account presents them as formidable figures whose very existence raises questions about the nature of humanity and divinity. Did they represent a literal threat, or were they symbolic of the struggles within the hearts of individuals and nations? The mention of the Nephilim, alongside Solomon's marriages, invites further investigation into the cultural milieu of ancient Israel. The juxtaposition of Solomon's divine favor with the potential for spiritual downfall creates an emotional landscape ripe for exploration. As we dissect the implications of these unions, we must also reflect on the long-term effects of these marriages on Israel's identity and faith. In examining the consequences of Solomon's choices, we are led to ponder the legacy of his reign. While he built magnificent structures and expanded his kingdom, his alliances through marriage ultimately contributed to a decline in spiritual fidelity. The irony lies in the fact that the very wisdom that elevated him also set the stage for his downfall. This duality emphasizes the importance of understanding the complexities of leadership and the consequences of straying from one's foundational beliefs. As we continue our investigation into the historical context of the Nephilim and Solomon's marriages, we will unravel the threads that connect these narratives. What lessons can we draw from Solomon's experiences? How do the intertwining stories of power and faith resonate with our contemporary understanding of leadership? The journey through Solomon's life is not merely an exploration of ancient history, it is a reflection on the timeless challenges faced by those in positions of authority. Join us as we navigate the intricate landscape of this compelling narrative, where the choices of one king reverberate through the ages, inviting us to reflect on the nature of wisdom, loyalty, and the consequences of human decisions. The exploration of Solomon's marriages to Nephilim women serves as a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between power and faith, and the enduring impact of our choices on the world around us. In the grand tapestry of Solomon's reign, his marriages were not merely personal choices, they were strategic maneuvers that intertwine with the political landscape of ancient Israel. When we examine the engineering and logistical challenges surrounding these unions, we uncover a narrative that highlights the duality of Solomon's wisdom. On one hand, he adeptly forged alliances that expanded his kingdom's political reach, but on the other, he walked a precarious line that threatened the spiritual integrity of his people. Solomon's decision to marry women from various nations, including those identified as Nephilim, raises significant questions about the motivations behind these alliances. Was Solomon seeking to fortify his realm against external threats, or was he simply giving in to personal desires? The Nephilim, often depicted as giants or beings of great power, symbolize the dangers of abandoning the covenant with Yahweh. These marriages, intended to bring peace and prosperity, became a source of deep spiritual conflict. As we dive deeper into the engineering aspects of these unions, we must consider the sheer scale of Solomon's marital endeavors. With 700 wives and 300 concubines, the logistics of managing such a diverse household would have required exceptional organizational skills. It is essential to understand how Solomon balanced these relationships while maintaining the delicate fabric of his kingdom. Each marriage not only represented personal ties, but also served as a political alliance, bridging cultures and strengthening defenses against rival nations. However, the emotional ramifications of these decisions cannot be overlooked. Solomon's marriages to foreign women often led him to compromise his faith and the faith of his people. The biblical accounts indicate that these unions resulted in a significant shift in Israel's religious practices. The very women who were meant to bring about unity and strength began to introduce foreign gods into the household, leading Solomon astray. This transformation from a wise king to one who allowed idolatry to flourish reflects a profound internal conflict, a struggle between his political ambitions and spiritual obligations. The narrative takes a more critical turn as we explore the implications of these marriages on the spiritual landscape of Israel. Solomon's initial wisdom was overshadowed by the consequences of his choices. The deep emotional connection he forged with these women often clouded his judgment. The text of 1 Kings 11:1-4 highlights the dangers of marrying foreign women, stating that they turned his heart away from Yahweh. This poignant moment marks a pivotal point in Solomon's reign, where the king's desires ultimately led to divine displeasure. As we analyze the duality of Solomon's wisdom, it becomes evident that his ability to forge political ties was overshadowed by the spiritual decay that followed. The marriages meant to strengthen his kingdom instead sowed the seeds of its future division. This irony emphasizes a crucial lesson. True wisdom must encompass not only strategic thinking, but also moral integrity. Solomon's decisions remind us that alliances formed through compromise can lead to unforeseen consequences, jeopardizing the very foundations of a kingdom. The emotional turmoil that ensued from Solomon's marriages also raises questions about the nature of leadership. As a ruler, Solomon was tasked with guiding his people in faith and righteousness. Yet, his choices reflected personal desires that conflicted with his duty to uphold the covenant with Yahweh. The weight of his decisions reverberated through generations, shaping the identity and faith of the Israelites long after his reign. In this exploration of Solomon's marriages, we must also consider the cultural implications of his unions with Nephilim women. These relationships were not merely transactional, they were steeped in the complexities of identity and faith. The Nephilim, often viewed with suspicion and fear, represented the unknown and the dangerous. Marrying into such a lineage would have been seen as a significant risk, both politically and spiritually. Solomon's alliances with these women challenge our understanding of the boundaries between nations and faiths. With each marriage, Solomon effectively redefined the cultural landscape of Israel. He expanded the kingdom's influence while simultaneously treading into murky waters regarding spiritual fidelity. The emotional stakes were high, as each union threatened the very essence of what it meant to be an Israelite. The narrative invites us to reflect on the delicate balance between power and faith, challenging us to consider how our choices shape our identities. As we move forward in our investigation, we must ask ourselves, what lessons can we learn from Solomon's experiences? How do the intertwining stories of power, faith, and consequence illuminate our understanding of leadership today? The complexities of Solomon's reign serve as a powerful reminder of the eternal struggle between ambition and morality. If you're intrigued by this exploration of Solomon's life and the implications of his marriages, make sure to subscribe for more investigations like this. The path we're taking not only reveals the intricacies of ancient politics, but also mirrors the timeless challenges faced by leaders throughout history. The lessons woven into Solomon's narrative resonate with us today, urging us to reflect on our own choices and the impact they have on the world around us. As we continue to unravel the threads of Solomon's alliances, we will delve deeper into the spiritual consequences of his choices. What did it mean for a king, blessed with unparalleled wisdom, to allow the influences of foreign gods to infiltrate his life? The tension between political ambition and spiritual fidelity serves as a poignant reminder that the choices we make can have far-reaching effects, shaping our legacies and the trajectory of our communities. This investigation into Solomon's marriages is not merely an exploration of ancient history. It is a reflection of the enduring quest for understanding the balance between power and faith. As we navigate these complex narratives, we are reminded that the choices of one king can reverberate through the ages, prompting us to contemplate the nature of wisdom, loyalty, and the consequences of human decisions. The journey continues, and the answers we seek lay just beyond the horizon of Solomon's story, inviting us to explore further into the depths of history and faith. As we continue to explore the complex tapestry of Solomon's reign, we turn our focus to the biblical texts that detail the consequences of his marriages, particularly those with Nephilim women. These narratives not only serve as historical accounts, but also reflect the intricate interplay between wisdom and folly. The texts reveal a profound contradiction in Solomon's life. A king known for his unparalleled wisdom who, despite such insight, allowed his heart to be led astray by foreign influences. The biblical account in 1 Kings 11 highlights the turning point of Solomon's legacy. It details how his many wives turned his heart toward other gods, leading him to worship deities like Ashtoreth and Moloch. This act of spiritual infidelity was seen as a direct violation of the covenant between Yahweh and the Israelites. The very essence of Solomon's wisdom, which was supposed to guide him in righteousness, was overshadowed by his personal desires. Here lies a crucial question. How can a man renowned for his sagacity fall victim to the allure of foreign gods? To understand this, we must delve into the textual analysis of Solomon's relationships. The scriptures suggest that Solomon's marriages were not merely alliances for political gain, but were deeply intertwined with the spiritual fabric of Israelite society. The Nephilim, often described as giants or fallen ones, carry a weight of historical and theological implications. Their very existence raises questions about purity, lineage, and the consequences of straying from divine commandments. Some scholars argue that these unions symbolize a broader cultural assimilation, where the lines between sacred and secular became blurred. Solomon's marriages to Nephilim women can be interpreted as a significant shift in the socio-religious landscape of Israel, where the influence of foreign cultures began to undermine the distinct identity of the Israelites. This shift is echoed in the prophetic warnings that followed, which foretold of a divided kingdom as a result of such transgressions. The emotional stakes of these narratives are palpable. As Solomon indulged in his desires, the repercussions cascaded throughout his kingdom. The texts illustrate a king who, despite his wisdom, became ensnared in a web of political and spiritual compromise. This raises further questions about the nature of leadership and the moral responsibilities that accompany power. If wisdom is to guide a leader, what happens when personal ambition clouds judgment? Moreover, the consequences of Solomon's decisions are not merely historical footnotes. They resonate deeply with contemporary discussions on leadership and integrity. The biblical narrative serves as a cautionary tale, illustrating how the pursuit of power can lead to moral decay. Solomon's story invites us to reflect on our values and the commitments we hold dear. How often do we prioritize ambition over ethical considerations? The lessons from Solomon's life challenge us to evaluate the foundations upon which we build our own legacies. As we analyze the consequences of Solomon's marriages, it is vital to consider the textual interpretations that have emerged over time. Different scholars have approached the scriptural accounts with varying perspectives, reflecting the complexity of the issues at hand. Some view Solomon's unions as purely historical, while others interpret them as metaphorical representations of the struggles between faith and temptation. This ambiguity raises important questions. How do we understand the interplay between cultural identity and spiritual fidelity? Can these narratives be seen as reflections of human nature, where the desire for connection often leads to compromise? In addressing these questions, we must also consider the concept of divine retribution as portrayed in the texts. The narrative suggests that Solomon's failures were not without consequence. His decisions led to a divided kingdom, a significant fracturing of the Israelite nation that had once thrived under his reign. This division is often interpreted as a direct result of his unfaithfulness to Yahweh, highlighting the theological implications of his personal choices. As we reflect on these themes, we cannot overlook the emotional weight of Solomon's journey. The once great king who had been blessed with wisdom and wealth ultimately faced the consequences of his actions. The narrative becomes a powerful exploration of the human condition, illustrating how even the most enlightened individuals can falter when confronted with temptation. This is a poignant reminder of the fragility of wisdom in the face of desire. If you're captivated by the complexities of Solomon's life and the implications of his marriages, make sure to subscribe for more investigations like this. The insights we uncover not only shed light on ancient histories, but also resonate with the challenges of contemporary leadership. The journey through Solomon's story continues to provide invaluable lessons, urging us to remain vigilant in our pursuit of integrity and moral clarity. As we delve deeper into the spiritual consequences of Solomon's choices, we will further explore how his marriages influenced the religious landscape of Israel. The tension between political ambition and spiritual fidelity serves as a backdrop for understanding the broader implications of these unions. What does it mean for a king, endowed with divine wisdom, to allow foreign influence to penetrate his faith? The answers may illuminate the enduring struggle between ambition and morality. The implications of Solomon's decisions extend far beyond his lifetime. They continue to reverberate through history, challenging leaders and individuals alike to consider the long-term consequences of their choices. Each marriage, each alliance, became a thread woven into the fabric of Israel's identity, shaping its future in ways that Solomon may not have fully comprehended. In this exploration, we must examine how the narrative of Solomon's marriages intersects with the larger themes of faith, power, and consequence. The intertwining stories of political strategy and spiritual integrity paint a complex picture of leadership, where decisions made in the name of ambition can lead to unforeseen repercussions. This balance between wisdom and folly remains a crucial aspect of our understanding of Solomon's legacy. As we continue our investigation, we will unravel the threads of Solomon's alliances, seeking to understand the spiritual decay that accompanied his pursuit of power. The narrative compels us to confront the reality that wisdom, when divorced from moral commitment, can lead to dire consequences. Solomon's life serves as a testament to the challenges of leadership, urging us to reflect on the nature of true wisdom and the responsibilities it entails. What remains of his story is a poignant reminder that the choices we make today will shape the legacies we leave behind. As we delve into the archaeological evidence surrounding King Solomon's reign, we find ourselves at the intersection of history, faith, and cultural identity. Solomon, renowned for his unparalleled wisdom and wealth, engaged in a series of marriages that would ultimately impact the very fabric of Israelite society. These unions, particularly with women identified as Nephilim, raise questions that extend beyond mere historical curiosity. They challenge us to consider the broader implications of faithfulness, identity, and the consequences of political ambition. Archaeological findings provide a tangible backdrop against which we can examine these implications. Evidence from ancient sites and artifacts illuminates the cultural exchanges that occurred during Solomon's time. For instance, excavations in Jerusalem have uncovered remnants of temples and altars that suggest the worship of foreign deities, a practice that directly correlates with Solomon's marriages to women from various nations. The presence of these structures raises a critical question. Did Solomon's alliances mean a dilution of Israelite faith? Or were they simply a reflection of a politically savvy ruler navigating the complexities of his time? The ancient texts, particularly the Bible, serve as our primary source for understanding Solomon's decisions. However, they are not without their challenges. The accounts of Solomon's marriages, especially to Nephilim women, are often regarded as both literal and metaphorical. This duality complicates our interpretation, inviting us to explore what these narratives reveal about the cultural tensions of the era. If Solomon married these women to cement political alliances, what does that say about the state of Israelite society during his reign? Were these marriages simply a means to an end? Or did they reflect a deeper spiritual compromise that would shape the future of the nation? As we analyze the archaeological evidence, we must also confront the textual narratives that describe Solomon's reign. The Book of Kings and the Book of Chronicles offer accounts that highlight both the grandeur and the folly of Solomon's decisions. The texts indicate that Solomon's marriages led to the introduction of foreign practices and beliefs into Israelite culture, a development that some scholars argue contributed to the eventual downfall of his kingdom. The emotional weight of this narrative is profound. It paints a picture of a king who, despite his wisdom, found himself ensnared by the very alliances he forged. If you're intrigued by how these historical contexts intertwine with spiritual implications, make sure to subscribe for more investigations like this. The complexity of Solomon's story is not just a tale of ancient politics, but a reflection on the challenges faced by leaders throughout history. Each marriage, each alliance, becomes a thread woven into the broader tapestry of Israel's identity, shaping its future in ways that Solomon may not have fully understood. Continuing our exploration, we turn our attention to the broader cultural implications of Solomon's decisions. The presence of Nephilim in the biblical narrative invites us to consider what these beings represented in the ancient world. Described as giants or fallen ones, the Nephilim symbolize not only physical strength, but also a moral ambiguity that resonates deeply within the text. Their inclusion in Solomon's marital alliances raises significant questions. What does it mean to ally oneself with such figures? Does it suggest a willingness to embrace ambiguity at the expense of one's own beliefs? The narrative of Solomon's marriages, therefore, becomes a powerful exploration of the human condition, illustrating how even the most enlightened individuals can falter when confronted with temptation. The emotional stakes grow as we consider the implications of Solomon's choices. His unions, which may have been intended to strengthen his kingdom, instead led to spiritual decay and idolatry. The legacy of his decisions is marked by a poignant reminder of the fragility of wisdom in the face of desire. Solomon's story serves as a cautionary tale, urging us to reflect on the nature of true wisdom and the responsibilities it entails. As we piece together the archaeological findings with the textual narratives, we see a complex picture emerge. The integration of foreign practices into Israelite culture is not merely a historical footnote. It is a pivotal moment that redefines the very essence of what it meant to be an Israelite during Solomon's reign. The introduction of idol worship and foreign deities indicates a departure from the monotheistic principles that had previously defined the nation. This shift is significant, as it suggests that Solomon's marriages were not just personal choices, but pivotal moments that altered the trajectory of Israel's spiritual identity. In considering the evidence, we must also ask ourselves how these decisions resonate in contemporary discussions about faith, identity, and leadership. Are there parallels to be drawn between Solomon's time and our own? The challenges faced by leaders today often revolve around the same themes of compromise and fidelity. Solomon's experiences serve as a lens through which we can examine our current landscape, prompting us to reflect on the legacies we leave behind. The archaeological narrative continues to unfold, revealing connections that deepen our understanding of Solomon's reign. Artifacts and structures discovered in sites such as Megiddo and Hazor suggest extensive trade networks and cultural exchanges that were likely influenced by Solomon's marriages. These findings underscore the complexity of Solomon's legacy, illustrating how his political maneuvers were intricately linked to his personal relationships. The question remains, did these alliances fortify his reign, or did they ultimately contribute to its decline? As we gather these threads, it becomes clear that Solomon's marriages to Nephilim women were more than mere historical curiosities. They were significant events that reshaped the religious landscape of Israel. The emotional implications of these unions echo through the ages, challenging us to consider the delicate balance between ambition and moral integrity. What remains evident is that Solomon's choices resonate deeply within the historical narrative, prompting ongoing debates about faith, identity, and the consequences of our actions. If you find yourself captivated by the complexities of Solomon's life and the implications of his marriages, be sure to stay connected for more investigations like this. The insights we uncover not only shed light on ancient histories, but also resonate with the challenges of contemporary leadership. As we continue to peel back the layers of Solomon's story, we are reminded of the enduring impact of our choices and the legacies we forge in our pursuit of wisdom and understanding. As we delve into the complex legacy of King Solomon, it becomes evident that his decisions, particularly regarding his marriages to Nephilim women, carry significant weight in the historical and theological narratives of ancient Israel. The ramifications of these unions extend beyond mere personal choice. They represent a broader commentary on the interplay between power, faith, and moral integrity. Solomon, renowned for his wisdom, appears to have made choices that ultimately contradicted the very principles that elevated him to greatness. This contradiction invites us to reflect on the nature of wisdom itself and the consequences of deviating from divine commandments. The investigation into Solomon's marriages reveals a tapestry of cultural exchanges that were intricately woven into the fabric of Israelite society. By marrying women from various nations, including those described as Nephilim, Solomon sought to forge political alliances that would secure his kingdom's stability. However, these marriages also exposed him to foreign ideologies and practices that threatened the monotheistic foundation of Israelite faith. This duality raises critical questions. Did Solomon underestimate the spiritual implications of his actions? Was his pursuit of political power worth the potential erosion of his people's identity? We observe that the emotional stakes in Solomon's story are palpable. His marriages, intended to fortify his reign, instead led to the introduction of idol worship and a departure from the worship of Yahweh. The biblical narrative conveys a sense of urgency as it chronicles Solomon's gradual decline. emphasizing that his wisdom, which once set him apart, became clouded by his desires. This transformation serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that even the wisest among us can falter in the face of temptation. Archaeological findings further complicate our understanding of Solomon's legacy. Evidence from excavations suggests that the cultural landscape of ancient Israel was profoundly influenced by these marital alliances. Artifacts indicating the presence of foreign deities and practices raise the possibility that Solomon's reign marked a significant turning point in the nation's spiritual trajectory. The integration of these elements into Israelite culture does not merely represent a historical curiosity, it signifies a transformative period that reshaped religious identity. The implications of Solomon's choices resonate across generations, inviting contemporary audiences to engage with the narrative on a personal level. Are there parallels between Solomon's experiences and the challenges faced by today's leaders? The struggle between ambition and moral integrity remains a relevant theme as we navigate our own complexities. Reflecting on Solomon's story can illuminate the delicate balance between pursuing power and maintaining one's ethical foundation. As we summarize the key findings of this investigation, we recognize the intricate connections between Solomon's marriages, the Nephilim, and their implications for Israelite history. The narrative serves not only as a historical account, but also as a reflection on the nature of faith and the consequences of human choices. Solomon's legacy, marred by his unions with foreign women, prompts us to consider the broader themes of fidelity, identity, and the moral dilemmas inherent in leadership. In contemplating these themes, we must ask ourselves, what lessons can we draw from Solomon's life? The interplay between wisdom and folly is a timeless narrative, one that continues to resonate today. As we reflect on the long-term effects of Solomon's decisions, we are reminded that our actions, however noble in intention, can have unforeseen consequences that shape the future. The emotional weight of Solomon's story is profound, urging us to engage deeply with the complexities of his legacy. His marriages to Nephilim women were not merely personal choices, but pivotal events that redefined their relationship between faith and culture in ancient Israel. The lessons gleaned from these unions extend beyond mere historical analysis. They encourage us to reflect on our commitments and the values we uphold in our own lives. As we prepare to conclude this investigation, let us consider what remains firm and what continues to be open for debate regarding Solomon's choices. The story of his reign prompts us to grapple with the tensions inherent in the human experience, the pursuit of power, the quest for wisdom, and the moral complexities that define our journeys. These reflections invite us to engage with the narrative not just as an ancient tale, but as a living discourse that challenges us to think critically about our own lives. If you've been intrigued by the unfolding of Solomon's legacy and the implications of his marriages, stay tuned for more insights that delve into the nuances of historical narratives and their relevance today. The exploration of such profound themes is not merely an academic exercise. It is a journey that connects us to our shared humanity and the choices that define our legacies. In summary, Solomon's marriages to Nephilim women encapsulate a rich narrative filled with lessons on wisdom, power, and the consequences of our actions. As we reflect on the complexities of these unions and their impact on Israelite identity, we are left with enduring questions about faith, fidelity, and the legacies we leave behind. The story does not conclude here. Rather, it invites us to consider how we navigate our own paths in light of the choices we make and the values we uphold. The exploration of Solomon's life stands as a reminder of the intricate dance between ambition and moral integrity, a dynamic we must continually confront as we shape our destinies. As we embark on further investigations, let us carry with us the lessons learned from Solomon's life, a narrative that continues to resonate across time, urging us to reflect on the balance between wisdom and folly, power and faith. What will you take away from this story? How might it influence your own journey? The answers to these questions remain open, waiting to be discovered as we continue to explore the depths of history, faith, and the human experience. As we draw to a close on our exploration of Solomon's marriages, we find ourselves reflecting on the intricate web of choices that shaped not only his reign, but also the cultural and spiritual landscape of ancient Israel. Solomon, known for his unparalleled wisdom and wealth, made decisions that would reverberate through history, particularly his unions with foreign women, including those identified as Nephilim. These marriages did not merely reflect personal choices, they signified a critical juncture in Israel's identity, sparking debates that endure to this day. The legacy of Solomon is one marked by both grandeur and downfall. His marriages were meant to forge alliances and ensure peace, yet they also led to spiritual decay and idolatry, ultimately resulting in the division of his kingdom. This narrative is a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between ambition and moral integrity. Solomon's story serves as a cautionary tale for leaders and individuals alike, illustrating how well-intentioned decisions can lead to unforeseen consequences. In analyzing the biblical texts surrounding Solomon's life, we see a complex portrait of a king who straddled two worlds. his devotion to God, and the allure of foreign influences. The narrative of his marriages to Nephilim women raises profound questions about faith, fidelity, and the essence of identity. Were these unions merely political moves, or did they signify a deeper spiritual compromise? This tension between wisdom and folly invites us to reflect on our own lives and the choices we make. As we consider the implications of Solomon's actions, we are confronted with a series of open questions. What does it mean to uphold one's values in a changing world? How do we navigate the complexities of our own commitments, especially when external pressures threaten to sway us? Solomon's experiences resonate deeply, prompting us to examine our own lives through the lens of his story. The lessons learned from his reign are not confined to ancient history. They carry relevance for contemporary society. The archaeological evidence we discussed earlier provides valuable insights into the cultural dynamics of Solomon's time. It highlights how his marriages intertwined with broader societal trends, shaping Israel's identity in profound ways. This interplay between faith and culture underscores the significance of understanding historical contexts and their implications for our lives today. What stands firm in our beliefs, and what remains open for debate as we confront modern challenges. Solomon's legacy is further complicated by the differing interpretations of his story. Some view his marriages as allegorical, representing broader themes of temptation and moral failure, while others see them as literal historical accounts that reveal the complexities of his reign. As we reflect on these interpretations, we recognize that the discussions surrounding Solomon are not simply academic. They are deeply personal and resonate within our own experiences. As we conclude this investigation, let us carry forward the lessons gleaned from Solomon's life. His narrative serves as a reminder of the intricate dance between ambition and morality, wisdom and folly. In a world where choices can have far-reaching consequences, we must remain vigilant in upholding our values and navigating the complexities that arise. Solomon's decisions stand as a testament to the challenges faced by leaders and individuals throughout history, urging us to consider how we can learn from the past as we shape our own legacies. If you found this exploration of Solomon's marriages enlightening, remember that history is not just a collection of events. It is a living dialogue that invites us to engage deeply with our own identities and beliefs. What will you take away from this story? How might it inspire you in your journey? The answers to these questions remain open, waiting to be discovered as we continue to explore the depths of history, faith, and the human experience. In closing, Solomon's marriages to Nephilim women encapsulate a narrative rich with lessons about faith, identity, and the consequences of our actions. As we reflect on the complexities of these unions and their impact on Israelite culture, we are left with enduring questions that challenge us to think critically about our own commitments and the values we uphold. The exploration of Solomon's life stands as a reminder that the interplay between ambition and moral integrity is a dynamic we must continually confront. As we venture forth into the future, let us keep in mind the lessons learned from Solomon's reign, a narrative that continues to resonate across time and urges us to balance our pursuit of wisdom with the values we hold dear. What will you choose to remember from Solomon's legacy? How will it shape your own journey? The exploration of such profound themes is not merely an academic exercise. It is a journey that connects us to our shared humanity and the choices that define our legacies. Remember, as we reflect on Solomon's story, what stands firm in your beliefs and what remains open for debate. The answers lie within us, inviting us to engage with the narrative of our lives as we strive to navigate the complexities of our existence. The story does not end here. It continues through our actions and decisions, shaping the legacies we leave behind.